Hi guys, Dogo here with a new video, and this video will be a tier list video for World of Warcraft, The War Within PvP, and I'm going to predict for Season 1 which specs are going to be great, BIS, average, underperforming, or straight up bad going into Season 1. Now obviously there's a lot of things that can change, so I'm going to do and say that this is a prediction video. And I'm going to update the video or make another video once Season 1 is out. I wanted to make that because I still get a lot of questions of which specs I should main for Season 1 or whatnot. And for me, it has always been fun over everything, but some people really want to chase the meta, or at least don't feel like they are going to play something that they are going to waste their time on, or they don't want to be like underperforming. So I understand that, and that's why I'm making this guide. I'm taking skirmishes, arenas in account. I do also solo shuffles, purely like with friends, to test a lot of specs and classes to see which one are working or not. You can do that with war games. If you have a guild that is active, you can also do that in your guild itself. And I'm thinking about random BGs and open world PvP a bit, like as a holistic view towards these specs. Now that was a long intro, but I wanted to give you the reasons why I put some specs into abyss, great, average, underperforming, or bad. I'm writing this like this because again, I think in an official tier list, whenever Season 1 is going to come out, I'm going to do the official way with S, A, B, S, C, and D tier. But I think that way people can really understand what those tiers are meaning. I'm going to do that with like this way. There's no tanks. So I can't really judge tanks right now because I think they might be better with tier set and conquest, but the few tanks I see, they're either like unkillable, but we don't really bother about it, or they are not going to be performing regardless. So I'm going to keep it like this. So let's talk about Warlocks. I'm going to try to do class per class so it's not confusing. So I'm going to talk about Warlocks first. Affliction Warlock, if no tuning is going to happen, are really strong in PvP. Like I'm currently playing Warlock as well. I'll be making guides about Warlock as well. And I think Affliction Warlock has like two builds. Basically, you can play. You can either play like with Wither, which is very strong and has like I would say great consistent damage. But I think the better build that you're going to play is I think it's called Hellcaller with like your Shadow Bolts doing a lot of damage, and that's going to be very strong as well. I just think that being able to do Shadow Balls for 1.4 million, I love that it is possible, but I think the frequency of it being possible is way too high, and that they might be nerfed because of that. But Affliction Warlock has been great. Like in open world PvP, it starts up very like slow, but it ramps up so fast. And if you are like in a team, like if you're like a group of 5 and you're fighting other groups, it feels like your pressure is really immense. Like you can really destroy healers. Not a lot of specs can do that. And I would also say in arenas, if you're like playing in 3v3, you're going to play with a caster cleave, for example, or you can play with a melee like unholy DK and rot everyone down. You could also play in soul shuffle very well, but I think the difficulty is like those melee lobbies where literally you're the target and you casting is really annoying and very hard. But that's why you have like two builds that you can play. You can play more of a Shadow Bolt build where you do need to really land those haunts, and you do need to wither down with your obviously malefic ruptures, which is a very important aspect of that build. Or you can play with wither, which is also important with like malefic ruptures, but you have a lot of the damage that is going to ramp up, and you can like blast them with your abilities that are going to rot at the end of the day. So Affliction Warlock for me, great. I think I cannot put them at BIS because they are lacking on some aspects, which is like surviving is kind of hard since they did nerf the drain life like leech. Like the aspect of gaining life with drain life is not really an option anymore. I feel like whenever I'm pressing drain life, it is a waste of time. Is it good or is it bad? Who knows? I kind of like that they did remove the talents which scaled your drain life into absurd healing amounts. And then whenever you're going to do a drain life with soul rot, you pretty much like full heal yourself. That is gone. But it does feel like very hard to sustain yourself as an affliction warlock. But let's talk about destruction warlock now. After testing a lot, it could change because they are going to get buffed next week by 5%, and they might even get buffed even more because it still is kind of underperforming. I think the Wither build is the more safe build to play, so you can like put Wither on everyone instead of Immolate, which is a cost. Wither is not a cost, so that can help you with your consistent damage and being able to get like haste from it. The issue is that the damage is not like impressive. I do more damage with my Shadow Bolt as an Affliction Warlock than with my Chaos Bolt as a Destruction Warlock. And Chaos Bolt opens you up with your Chaos Skull, which is everything. So if you're getting kicked on that, you cannot cast for 5 seconds if it's a mage that is kicking you, or 2 or 3 seconds depending on which melee is actually like kicking you. So obviously that's a bit of a problem. Shadow Bolts from Affliction Warlocks are usually thrown whenever you get Nightfall procs, which is making it instant, and that those procs are like often, right? If you have a Haunt with Hellcaller, you get 1 stack of Nightfall, and you can have like 2 stacks, so you can do back-to-backs. Destruction Warlock doesn't have that. I do feel like the I don't know how it's called anymore, like they changed Fulmination. I don't know, it's Rumination or Fulmination, that makes your Chaos Bolt like a AoE, looks like a Hand of Gul'dan kind of thing. It does less damage on a Chaos Bolt, so basically you're speccing into something that does less damage for you. So obviously the pets do damage, and the demons that are coming from your Chaos Bolts and your builders are interesting, but it's nowhere near like as strong as it should be. So for now, I'm going to put it at average. Don't want to put it in underperforming because I think other specs are like above it, but I do feel like Destruction Warlock currently is not that great. Some people may say that it's a bit better than it is, and I can understand from some POVs. But if you're playing Destruction Warlock and then you're playing Affliction Warlock, you do understand the gap between them. And I do feel like in Season 1, since the stats are very low, you cannot really have high haste or high mastery, or neither actually. So it's not going to be that interesting to play a Destruction Warlock in Season 1. I'm still going to play it though, because I do like it, but I know the limitations I have with Destruction Warlock. Season 1, I think Demonology Warlock is going to be great. It has CC, it has some damage, it's not like impressive damage, but the CC is like something that not a lot of specs has, and it has an MS effect as a caster. So if you're playing, let's say, with a Elemental Shaman, you kind of like that MS effect if you're playing Affliction Warlock or Destruction Warlock. So Demonology Warlock can give that, and also the ability to, because your burst rotation is quite surprising because you don't really feel like you're bursting, but on the damage meters you do see Demonology Warlocks being high. Now in random BGs, it kind of sucks. It's very hard to make Demonology Warlock like feel very strong in BGs, because you get like stopped by multiple things. You need to cast a lot, you need to ramp up, and in some occasions you don't get the time to ramp up. In 2v2, I think Demonology Warlock is going to be great because you have the CC, you have an MS effect. I think the damage of your pets are kind of unavoidable in 2v2, while in 3v3 you can. So for me, Demonology Warlock is in a great state. I think open world PvP, it's not their thing, so it's very hard to judge on this tier list like open world PvP equally for everyone, because I think Demonology Warlock could basically be non-existent in open world PvP, and I think right now you rarely see a Demonology Warlock already, but in open world PvP rarely you will see one. So it's quite rare. So for now, great. Let's talk about mages. I think arcane mages. Do I judge it by the average player or by the best players of the? I'm going to say that overall, if I'm counting about everything, like solo queue RBG, solo shuffle, random RBGs, 2v2, 3v3, open world PvP. I'm going to say that right now I feel like it's average, but not in the sense that you would think that it is average. I think it's average because you don't have the tools that a Frost Mage has right now. So if you have to compare between those specs, and yes, sometimes you don't want to compare those two specs every single time, but I don't find any reasons why you would play an Arcane Mage right now, except in a like sub RMP where truly you want to win in one go. You could do that with Arcane Mage, or like one go and then reset and then another go. But you have to be very specific in how you play. And I think if I judge the spec not by the top 1%, because it's very hard to judge something by the top 1%. If I judge it by the mass population, I don't feel like I can say Arcane Mage is that strong. So for now, average. I know that's like some people can make it feel like S tier. It is what it is. I think there is a lot of specs that are in those categories. So for now, I'm going to put it in average. Arms Warrior, I think it is a slept on spec, guys. Right now, everyone is playing Fury, but once the nerfs are going to be live, and people will know that they're going to be nerfed again the week after, because we still have 2 weeks before, like 1 week and a half before the season starts. And they will do another tuning. So now we have like the tuning for like this week. So when the video is live tonight, it's going to be like 3 days before the tuning. Friday itself will have another patch. You can count on it. I think it is nowhere over. I think they're still testing a lot of stuff. Even in PvE, there's still a lot of movement that is going to happen, because people are sometimes satisfied but also dissatisfied, and it will trickle down to PvP. So right now, I do feel like Arms Warrior is going to be great in a season 1. I think people are sleeping on it. If you're playing Slayer, your Blaystorms actually hurt for a lot, but also you have more mobility. You can kick while doing Blaystorm, although to be fair, a lot of people just cancel their Blaystorm now to be able to do an execute, for example, or another Mauler Strike. So I do feel like, and I do trust in Arms Warrior and the tier set. If you have read Arms Warrior tier set, it is actually a great one. Like a lot of specs have like kind of bad tier sets. Like I'm thinking about a BM Hunter. I think BM Hunter, the tier set is really, really bad. I think Arms Warrior, they will scale very well. So season 1, you're going to see a resurgence of Arms Warrior, and you're going to understand that Arms Warrior is not dead. Like even though Fury looks way easier to play, and you will see way more Fury Warriors right now, I do feel like Arms Warrior is a slept on spec. I did talk about Mage first, so I'm going to go back to Mage, and now I'm going to talk about Warriors. Thank you for subscribing to the channel, Duhan Hata Shita. Thank you. Now we are not live, but we do get some announcements here and there. So thank you. I'm going to talk about Frost Mage and Fire Mage first, right? Fire Mage, I think season 1 right now, there is no indication that it's going to be good. I'm going to put it in bad. If you are going to play Fire Mage because of the lore, because of the cool factor, that's cool. You can still make it work. I think in solo queue RPGs, it's not going to be that bad. You don't have any survivability though, and same for solo shuffle. You're going to be the victim of the lobby, except if you're like the best mages out there. I would say like Aegis or whatever. You could make it work at that point, but then again, you are most likely not going to be the top 1% if you're watching my videos. If you are, then thank you for watching the videos, obviously. But I think if you are one of the top 1%, you would not need a tier list to know which one you should main next season, because obviously you were probably a diehard main of that spec or class, and you probably know the meta already, and you probably have already an idea on what you're going to play season 1. So I think Fire Mage, for the 99% of the people that are playing Fire Mage, they're going to have a hard time going into season 1. The survivability is really bad. I think they don't get the tools that Frost Mage has on hero towns, in my opinion. I think also the damage has been gutted from Dragonflight, from the War Within pre-patch, which is not the preseason, but the pre-patch, they got gutted like into oblivion. Living Bomb was something that people played around and could play around. Right now, Living Bomb is a joke. So a lot of the talent tree, it was revolving around Living Bomb. Scorch can do damage, but then again, if you're playing Fire Mage around Scorch and not Pyroblast, then what is the point? That's kind of the feel I have. If people are like disagreeing with me about Fire Mage, please do let me know so we can have a discussion about it. Frost Mage, I'm going to put it in Abyss right now. It doesn't matter if the Ice Lance is getting nerfed. I think right now that the survivability that it has, the tools that it has, the easiness of doing their damage, because let's be fair, I do feel like Frost Mage is the PM Hunter spec of mages. It's not that hard to press Frozen Orb, Ice Lance, do a Ring of Fire, Flurry, Ice Lance. You can basically play around Ice Lance and disregard Frostfire Bolt, or the other hero taunt that I see no one play. I think Spellslinger it is called, or whatever. I do feel like Frost Mage is in a great spot. I would even say in the best spot possible. It is very good in open world PvP. It is very good in random BGs. It is very good in solo queue RPGs, and it will be very good in solo queue RPGs. Frost Mage has been already good in Soul Shuffle, like in Dragonflight as well. It is like the bane of the melees. Yes, it is like going to be trained from A to Z, but Frost mages like to be trained. Like they like to be in control, to put a blizzard, to be able to do like cleave with their ice lances. Don't like cast glacial spike in front of them, and you're going to be fine. A lot of people that are like struggling with Frost mage, they're playing the builds that are just very hard to make it work, like literally glacial spiking someone while you have like 2 melees on you versus a resto shaman. That's not going to happen, right? So just adapt your build, try to play around with Ice Lance a bit more. Even though it's nerfed, it's still going to be the build. It's still going to be the playstyle that probably the best mages out there are going to play. If you have difficulties, please watch the guide from Aegis. I think he did like an ultimate guide of 3 hours. I respect like guides that are made by content creators. I do them as well, but I really respect like those longer guides, and I do feel like you learn a lot by that. Even I watched it, and I don't play Frost Mage, right? So I didn't like, I played in Dragonflight, but I decided to not play in the War Within. I even watched it, so I think it's very important for people to realize how strong Frost Mage can be. Now let's talk about warriors again. Fury Warrior, I think it's going to be great. It's going to be great, but they are going to get nerfed, and they're going to be kept on being nerfed. So if you want my full prediction, I do feel like it's going to be average after all those nerfs. Not Odin's Fury, not the first set of nerfs that we have like right now. I think they're going to be even more nerfed afterwards, because people are going to realize it's not only Odin's Fury the problem. I think Slayer is a problem. I think Bladestorm is a problem. So they're going to nerf that. I think they're going to hit Bladestorm by a 20% nerf very soon. I think Slayer is going to get like some pretty hefty nerfs towards Fury, maybe not towards Arms. I think that is going to be the direction they're going to go for. I don't know if it's going to be a good direction, but they're going to do that. And just in general, maybe like they could change a few things, like with PvP modifiers, maybe the healing reduction, now that it doesn't get overwritten. It is very strong in PvP, like especially in solo shuffle. If you want to play like a BG hero, I think Fury is like one of them. If you want to play like a random BG, have a lot of fun, you could do that as well. Open world PvP, I think you can like do a lot of fun with it. It's also very, very good in open world PvP. I do also feel like in solo shuffle you have the liberty to be able to not be the target every single time, which a lot of specs doesn't really have the same luxury. And I do feel like Fury Warrior is going to be still great in season 1 until they got nerfed, until like they want them to be nerfed. That's something that is always going to happen with either specs. Either Arms or Fury is going to be very competitive, and the other one is going to be tracking a bit back. It just is what it is. With like historical data that we have with expansions, like not often you will see those two specs being equal. So for me, Arms is going to overtake Fury in season 1. Assassination Rogue, for me it's still BIS. I think it does still a lot of damage. Fatebound, those coin flips do around 500k at one point if you're doing it very correctly. Again, it's not an easy spec to survive on, so that is going to be the difficulty for you as an Assassination Rogue. But I think the rotation is not that hard. I think people still need to adapt to Shadowlands not being there anymore. People realize that it's not there anymore. I do feel like it is also one of the specs that do benefit a lot from being like a night elf, so you could actually have another set of garrotes, stealthy garrotes, which does more damage and silences. So you do benefit from that. I do feel like it's very strong still, and as long as Holy Paladin is not meta to the T, you will not see Assassination Rogue like drop down very drastically. Once you see like Holy Paladin being like top of the crop, then once it's top of the crop, you will see Assassination Rogues like be going down. But right now, it's going to be still the best rogue spec in my opinion. Big spoiler. Let's talk about the Outlaw Rogue. Outlaw Rogue is going to be, in my opinion, great. I think people are sleeping on it. I play Outlaw Rogue. It's not going to be my main because I think it takes too much maintenance. I think it's also a bit too hard to play Enhancement Shaman and Outlaw Rogue. I think it is very fun. I think they do get benefits from hero tons, although they're very boring, or at least they're boring in design. I think the whole coin flip and such is cool, but you need a weak aura for that, to be fair. So everything that you really need a weak aura for kind of sucks. That's just truth at the end. Especially since if you want to have the best value, you have to have a weak aura for it. It does good damage, way better damage than Dragonflight. You could actually surprise people with your damage, which didn't really happen like the expansion before. You still have great CC. You're pretty tanky for a rogue. Obviously, still double vanish is like really a great thing for them, and killing spree is doing a lot of damage. I think people are like sleeping on it. They don't realize that killing spree now is just not a joke anymore, and if they're pressing killing spree, they might likely just like KO you. I enjoy my Outlaw Rogue. I enjoy it like in random BGs. I enjoy it in skirmishes. In 2v2, you can have fun as well. I think in Soul Shuffle, you can really do very well. I think it really depends on you being able to CC at the right time, obviously. But I think Outlaw Rogue is in a great spot. I don't think they're going to nerf it because it's very much under the radar. People are still talking badly about it. While to be fair, if you really just play it for a few seconds with full gear, obviously, you'll understand the difference between Dragonflight and the wall within Outlaw Rogue, which is a good thing again. Subtlety Rogue, I don't know, guys. I feel like I think it really depends on the game mode. Obviously, if we're talking about solo RPGs, I think all rogue specs are like very good right now. I will be making a solo RPG like video at the start of the season, like a bit more precise. But if I'm talking about Soul Shuffle, you still have the difficulties of teammates screwing you up with like their stun DRs. You still have the difficulty of not being as strong, I think, in than Dragonflight. I do feel like you're losing a lot of damage. You had way more damage in Dragonflight, in my opinion. At least in season 2, season 1, they got nerfed multiple times over a bit further down the expansion, but it does feel like it lags behind. Now it could be a bad impression from me, and I'm also a very bad subtlety rogue, so obviously my experience with it is not going to be the experience of one of the best. But I'm not really scared of sub rogue. I think it's very annoying though. They don't really die easily, and they have double vanish. They can just run away every single time and then go back with their go. But I think right now I prefer to play versus subtlety than versus assassination rogue. With that in mind, I'm still going to put them at great. I think it's equally to outlaw rogue. Again, I'm not going to like rank in within those tiers because I think that can be done once season is going to start. I think subtlety rogue is great. I just think it's very hard to utilize it at great, and I don't want to judge specs on purely rank ones because again, if I'm thinking about rank one subtlety rogues and whatever I'm facing one, um, it does feel like subtlety rogue is strong, but that is not the experience of everyone, right? And if I'm thinking about subtlety rogue right now, I'm not really scared, except if I'm facing like someone that is really truly a god on it, for example. Augmentation Evoker, I think it's actually great. I think the hero tons are really good for them. I think it's very stupid to play against. I hate to play against. It's tanky. It supports. It does a lot of damage, at least burst wise. Consistent damage is still very bad. Um, and they are not going to get nerfed, I think. They are in a state where their tier set is going to be doing a lot for them, so that's also a good thing. And I do feel like in solo queue RPGs itself, it's going to be an asset for the team. I think in Soul Shuffle, you're going to have to learn to play against it again. It's going to be a bit more popular compared to The War Within, compared to Dragonflight, excuse me. And right now, you know what? You know what? I'm going to backpedal on it. I'm going to say that it's average because I think that the mass majority of augmentation players are not going to be utilizing the kit at their disposal to the maximum because you need to understand that you can also heal with it. You can like protect people with it. You can play really a support playstyle, which is not always easy. So I'm going to put average because I do want to put some separation between Devastation Evoker and Augmentation Evoker, which Devastation Evoker for me is great. It does some sick damage. It has poor CC though. I think their skill commander hero taunt is very good. They're getting buffed on their flame shaper hero taunt, which is engulf, and engulf is actually something that is going to be tuned around damage. So if damage is good, it's going to be strong. If damage is bad, they're not going to be played. And I do feel like Devastation Evoker is currently very scary. I really hate facing one in Soul Shuffle especially, but in random BGs, in solo queue RPGs, they're going to be a menace in general. And then open world PvP, I think that's fine. I think 1v1s, they're not really like that strong. They can't like burst, but obviously you have your defensives, so you can counter their burst with your defensives. But I think if I'm thinking like holistically how Devastation Evoker is doing, they are not going to be nerfed because it's like their flagship hero class right now. It does feel like they want it to be strong. And right now, it is not obnoxious to the point that they need to nerf it, so it's not going to be nerfed, in my opinion. They even got buffed in PvP, so like next week, so very strong. BM Hunter. Now, I am not as pessimistic as many of my colleagues. I think BM Hunter is bad, but not that bad. I think if I have to compare it between Fire and BM Hunter, well, I think BM Hunter actually has damage, and they have defensives, and I do feel like even though the damage doesn't show as much as you would think, it is adding up though. It's like easy damage at any time. It cannot really get stopped except whenever they're like getting eliminated, obviously. But I think right now they're getting buffed. They're going to get buffed again because it's underperforming, obviously. So I'm going to put it in underperforming. But I don't think it's bad. Like I think people are like comparing it with the wrong specs. If you compare with Fire Mage, you will know that Fire Mage is actually like one of, if not the worst spec in the game right now, for PvP at least. Solo queue RPG, you can sit bases very well. You have great damage, I would say, for what you're doing. Obviously, it's not the best damage dealer, but it's definitely not the worst. I think the problems that you have as a BM hunter, because I do play BM hunter, is that your pets are dying too quickly. Like they have, like my pet has 2.8k HP, so you could literally look at him and he will just flop over. Like if you're seeing a PvP player being at 2.8k, like 2.8 million, excuse me, HP, you can pretty much two hit him, right? My Shadow Bolt as Affliction Warlock would crit him for 1.5 million. It's like half HP. So again, I think they need to like buff the pets again. I think the damage of pets are really low as well. Like melee damage is lower than an auto shot, which is kind of weird um, in general. And I also feel like right now in season one it's not going to start very well. It will end up being good at the end with a lot of like tuning phases, but if you are going to run with Hunter, you probably will want to play Survival, which Survival in my books are a great spec. They are very, very strong. Um, Sentinel is bad. I don't like Sentinel. I think Lunar Storm is such a waste of a proc because it never lands correctly, and people can just run away from that, or just step away from it, or you're just kiting away from it. It's good with pack leader, but pack leader it's good for the wrong reasons, obviously. But it's getting buffed on Cull the Herd, which is um, the damage over time effect of kill shot, and also with the mongoose proc that like mongoose bite proc that you're getting, which is obviously going to do a lot of damage overall, but also over time. They got like a vicious hunt nerf, which is the kill command proc. That's all right because again you're not really doing that much damage either with that. So you're going to play around your kill shots. You're going to do a lot of damage with your mongoose bites, and that's it. I think your CC is still good. I think your potential twos is probably still got here. I also think in solo queue RPGs you're not bad. You still are a pet class, which is not ideal, but you can still like stop caps because of your pet, which is important. Camouflage is also quite big, and in general, if you're playing Night Elf, it's also going to be very helpful as well. Disc no MM Hunter, excuse me. MM Hunter, people are saying that it's like busted, like literally OP, which I don't think so. I think it's great though. Like if I'm counting on how it plays and how it does, Dark Ranger is cool because you get like literally a free kill shot proc, which is an ability that does a lot of damage compared to what BM Hunter has. Being able to do your wailing arrows, your kill shot, like your kill shots, your aim shots, your rapid fire, those are really interesting. I think people need to still kind of learn how to play versus Hunter. It does a lot of damage, but it is stoppable. In 2v2, you're going to be played, but it's not going to be fantastic because people can line you. In 3v3, you have some comps, but I think Cupid is going to be head and toes beyond other comps. Cupid is like Retribution Paladin with Hunter, and is in a great spot. I do feel like it's in a easier spec to nerf overall, especially if you're like playing solo RPGs. You're going to face like a Hunter and have some difficulties, and people are going to express the same feelings around it. So it might get nerfed compared to what survival hunters are more under the radar. People don't really know what to think about it, which I think they're going to be great. And I think Hunter is great, but they might become average after the nerfs that are going to come at one point. Disc Priest. Again, I want to judge Disc Priest based on 2 hero tones, but I will just going to do a generalization. The better Disc Priests are playing Oracle because they are very much unkillable and very annoying to deal with. Purge is your friend, but you know, Purge is not something you have with every single spec in class. I would say currently Oracle Disc Priest is great. I would like to put it in BIS, but I think there are other specs that do deserve BIS above Disc Priest. you already see like the list. You have already a lot of great specs because it is a great like expansion right now. I do feel like a lot of specs have a lot more tools, so you can also turn the tides very much easier. This quiz has been changed and only getting better over time, and I think the hero tons are like straight up a full on positive for them. If we're talking about Shadow Priest, I think Shadow Priests are also great, and I'm already sorry for the big great list, but it is how it is. I think Shadow Priests, despite their lack of mobility, being able to play Archon and have like those insanity procs makes your damage way more spiky and way more controllable, which is something a lot of like Shadow Priests had difficulties in Dragonflight, having to do 2 Devouring Plagues to have 1 stack of Insanity, which often, if you're playing the Insanity Mind Spike or Mind Flay, they would get kicked or get stopped. But obviously, now with Archon, with the Insanity procs, you have way more chances to do a lot of damage. And I think right now, with the stat squishes and the CC and whatever, I do feel like Shadow Priests are coming on top above their Dragonflight counterpart. And you have a lot of impact if you're playing Shadow Priest in solo RPGs, in solo shuffle, in 3v3, even in 2s. You have a lot of like great possibilities for you to climb with a Shadow Priest. Now, is it easy to play? That's another question. I don't think it's easy. But obviously, if you have the CC in hand, you know how to do your rotation, you know how to create space and do your damage. I think as a Shadow Priest, you have like all the tools available to be performing very well. Holy Priest, I'm going to put it in average. Am I like I don't know if I'm very much like very like I would say delusional if I'm putting priest like holy priest in average, but I feel like they are not that great. I do feel like Archon holy priest is interesting. I think the lack of stats kind of plays a great part on how they heal. Because they wanted to stack mastery. Now I don't know if they're still stacking mastery, but since mastery is not that high anymore, you kind of lack the great consistent healing from your mastery procs. Um, I feel like with current meta, you have quite a lot of difficulties with healing because you rely on like big bursts of healing, which in this expansion is a bit less needed because it's like consistent damage over and over and over and over, and then like some big spikes. And like disc priests are better at that. I think restoration shamans are better at that. Preservation evoker is probably the best at that. So I do feel like right now, holy priest is an average spec. Let's talk about Preservation Evoker because I did skip over it. I'm very sorry. It is S tier, very strong. I think Preservation Evoker is crazy. They are going to get nerfed though, it seems. They're not going to keep it as strong as it is. I think it just is not a popular spec. So obviously the stats and the representation is going to be quite skewed. But I do feel like right now Preservation Evoker is a menace. Like I don't like to play against in solo shuffle, but neither also in solo shuffle, in solo QRBG, and also in random BGs. I think random BGs like the amount of Preservation Evokers I see in general is massive. The open world PvP as well. I think it just is a very fun spec to play. I think the race and how it is and how it looks is just maybe what refrains a lot of people from playing. They might change it very soon because of that. But right now, Preservation is in a great spot. I would say a S tier spot. Controversial. Let's talk about the Shaman specs. Elemental Shaman, I'm going to say, is a great spec, and a lot of people are having difficulties with Elemental Shaman because they were playing a lot of pre-patch and they played the more busted version of Elemental Blast or Elemental Shaman. But Elemental Shaman, right now, they are playing around Earth Shock. If you want to do very well with Elemental Shaman, you have to play Farseer. I know I promote Stormbringer a lot, but if you want to like be very competitive, just play Farseer and try to spam those Earth Shocks. Earth Shocks with Aftershock, so you could have like back-to-backs. That is going to bring you the damage. Obviously Lava Burst as well. You have a go every 30 seconds with Primal, your Wave, and Ancestral Swiftness, with also your Farseers, like Ancestral, that are going to uh, do massive amount of damage, and every time they're going to like disappear, they're throwing a lava, like an elemental blast, and that itself is going to do a lot of damage onto the enemy. I think people are like not playing the right builds, or they don't know how to play the right builds. Just play full haste. I might make a guide very soon about it, because I do play elemental shaman as well, and I already have a guide about enhancement shaman. So I think the logical process would be elemental shaman next, but I'll have to see. I kind of don't want it, but they are going to probably nerf Earthshock. I think it's too competitive with other specs and spells. Earthshock does like double or triple the damage of a lava burst, especially whenever it crits. And it's like hard hitting. It's really insane. They got buffed on Mastery Dome, which is a good thing. So I look forward. To test and to see what builds the people are going to play with Elemental Shaman, because it's one of the specs that have the multiple builds and multiple ways to play. And I think a lot of people are like kind of tunnel visioning into something they want to play and like to play. But if you want to be competitive, you kind of have to play the best builds out there, which I think Farseer with Earth Shock spams and doing lava bursts with every single 30-second go, you can do a lot of damage. I do feel like Elemental Shaman is in a great spot. Like, don't sleep on it. Really don't sleep on it. And Enhancement Shaman, I'm going to say that it's average. People are like saying it's D tier or bad or like C tier. For me, it's going to be a good B tier. I'm going to say it's average. And the best players are going to make it feel S tier, and some players are going to make it feel D tier. I made a guide about it. They are going to buff Storm Strike, Wind Strike, Wind Fury, and Lava Lash by 60%, Elemental Blast by 12%. You got like a small aura nerf, which is 4% for everything, or 6% for everything. But that aside, it's still going to be a very, very good opportunity for you to climb as an enhancement shaman. The buffs are going to feel massive, because I already did an analysis video compared to what we have before the patch, before the buffs, and then after the buffs. You will see a massive difference between your damage, because buffing those builders are going to help you with how you are going to deal damage overall in arenas, in random RPGs as well, in solo queue RPGs as well, in soul shuffles as well. I do feel like Enhancement Shaman is a high paced spec with a lot of keyboard binds bloat, but it's still going to be very strong, and I recommend people to play it or test it. I think Stormbringer is loads of fun as well. One of the best hero talents out there as well. So I look forward to see more Enhancement Shaman, although I think it's not really a flavor of the month kind of spec. Very hard to get in. But for the people that do want to play Enhancement Shaman, I think that this is the right time. Like, I made a guide about it, did multiple discussion videos about it. I can have like a lot of critiques that I have with the spec and how it is, but I can't deny it. It is one of the most fun specs out there. Like, it's very hard to play Enhancement Shaman and then go to another spec and feel like, oh damn, I wish I had like Maelstrom weapons to be able to heal myself, or I wish I had Ghost Wolf. I wish I had like the utilities I have with like Earthbind or Tremor or whatever possible you have with Enhancement Shaman. I really like it, and I do feel like it's slept on. People are putting it in D tier for no real reasons. They were already putting in D tier for no reason, and right now with the buffs, I do feel like it's going to be very good. Season 1 is going to be average, but it's going to be a great season 2 going forward for Enhancement Shaman. Restoration Shaman. Restoration Shaman is going to be... Guys, I'm going to put Resto Shaman in best in slot. I think it's going to be the best healer in season 1 with Preservation Evoker. It's slept on. You're not casting any spells. You are really not casting. If you want to play like a spec that doesn't cost too much, Restoration Shaman is your boy. Farseer, although quite boring, how it is helping you with like 3 Riptides, and your Earth Shield is buffed as well, which is already buffed on the spec tree as well. It's one of the best specs out there. People are like really sleeping on it. Like, you don't understand how strong Wind Shear is and how strong Restoration Shaman is in this current meta. When a lot of casters are actually very good, Restoration Shaman is shining. Like Shadow Priests, Mages, Affliction Warlocks, even Demonology Warlocks, you can like Earthbind the pets and like screw you, you're not doing anything, kind of deal. And the possibility to play like those melee cleaves, like Restoration Shaman, Fury Warrior with a DH or with a Windwalker is going to be disgusting to play against. Or Fury Warrior with a Retribution Paladin, or Arms Warrior with a Retribution Paladin is going to be disgusting to play against. So Resto Shaman is going to be great. In RBGs is going to be great. Solo queue RBGs is going to be great. In 2v2 you're going to be very, very aggressive as well. It's going to be something like to look forward to. And yes, the skill ceiling and skill floor is very high. Don't get me wrong. Like, if you are going to play your Resto Shaman, it's going to be tough to learn it. But once you have learned it, once you have enough mastery as well, because you need to spam mastery with it, you're going to be having a great time with it, in my opinion. Let's talk about DH, one spec. Having Demon Hunter, I feel like it is a great spec. One of the best specs out there. I want to put it in BIS, but it is countered by Frost Mages and Assassination Rogues out there. I feel like you did lose a few things. For example, those Immolation Auras, Dispelling, that is also nerfed if I'm not mistaken. I think they are going to get unjustifiably buffed in season 1 as well. Like, that's my prediction for the Demon Hunters. They're going to get buffed on something, I don't know what, and it's going to feel drastic for the meta. But right now, I would say start of season 1, I don't expect them to be the best of the best, but I don't expect them to be average as well. Like, I think like the damage is really insane. Demon Surge, I think that's how it's called, is really bursty. And in general, I think, although people complain about Demon Hunter, I don't think it is about their power level. I think the playstyle has changed into something maybe a bit boring. I don't know, from the things that I've seen. But I think power-wise, it is one of the best specs out there. Windwalker. Let's talk about Windwalker very quickly. I think it's great. I think people are going to be mad. I'm very sorry. I know there's a lot of specs on great, but it just feels like that. I think the War Within gives a lot of specs, like a lot of tools to be able to be very good. I might, again, on my second tier list on season 1, I might like have a bit more separation between them with like a A+ or A-. But now we have like best, great, average, underperforming, bad. I don't want to say that Windwalker is average. I think it's very annoying to play versus Windwalker if you're a caster. You get spinned in the air, and you cannot cast anything, only instant cast. It's really, really bad if you're playing Destruction Warlock, by the way. It's very bad if you're playing Shadow Priest. It's very bad if you're playing Affliction Warlock, even Demonology Warlock. So Windwalker is doing very good. Like, the damage is insane. I think the playstyle is insane. I think it's also a bit more tanky than before. And just in general, I think it's a very good spec. Like, I think a great spec. Mistweaver, I think, again, I will be making a tier list like separate for that. But I think Soul RPG, it's insane. It's very hard to get him down. They got buffed on Life Cocoon, again, something that is maybe a bit redundant because Life Cocoon is already a spell that is very hard to break, so you often just change like your targets. But I think if I'm thinking about Mistweaver, I'm thinking about Feast Weaving as well. That is decent and very strong as well, to have like 2 builds played differently for different purposes. But for me, Mistweaver is going to be interesting. I'm going to put it at 8 here. One of the best healer specs out there. cost of mistweaver or fistweaving, I think it's going to be decent for you guys. Holy Paladin. Let's talk about Paladins first. Holy Paladins for me going to be average together with Holy Priest. It lacks a correct cast defensive. I think having BUFFS is great versus Fury Warriors, but it is close to useless versus Frost Mages, close to useless versus Affliction Warlocks. You heal not a lot. From my understanding, again, it's my bias. I don't feel like I'm having a bad time versus a Holy Paladin in general, and I would rather play versus them than versus, let's say, a mistweaver. So that is the difference I make between those two. I think there are no underperforming healers in general right now. You could say that the average ones are underperforming compared to the rest, but I think right now you would still take a Holy Priest or a Holy Paladin and not feel like you're going to auto lose every single game. So for me, I think it's justified to be average. Let's talk about the Retribution Paladin spec. Retribution Paladin is, again, surprisingly great spec, not best in slot, let's be fair. I think it still lacks on the self-healing department. If it actually healed themselves a bit more, I think it would be BIS. But I think that is the purpose of the design, and they don't want it be like that strong. But it is like the spec that makes me like very much scared in a lot of situations, because they do insane amount of damage and they are ranged. Like literally, they play ranged. If you're playing Retribution Paladin, you know what I mean. Like it's the distance is not mattering too much anymore. It's a good thing or a bad thing depending on who sees that. But the Retribution Paladin is doing well, and yeah, I don't think they're going to get nerfed either. And the two Herotons are usable, like very strong. Let's talk about Frost Decay. Frost Decay is interesting, but I'm going to say that it is great. It does a lot of damage. It's interesting on how it does damage though, because it is still counterable. It still is not the most tankiest spec out there either. And I do feel like you still need to double grip a lot, blinding sleet into the stun, into the silence, into another stun, for example. But that's part of the gameplay of Frost Decay, I think. Overall, great spec. I think Rider of the Apocalypse is very interesting, very defensive as well. And Deathbringer just adds the extra oomph needed to destroy someone in like PvP in general. And Holy Decay will be my STS spec. I do feel like it's strong. Like it's really, really biz. Like the damage is like nearly unavoidable. They have like two Herotons that are vastly different from each other, but you have to know which one it is so you can counter it a bit. They get like way more tanky than in Dragonflight. They get like the damage is really unavoidable sometimes, most of the time actually, and they don't like they don't lack the actual stats in my opinion. I think season one The War Within, Unholy Decay is going to be very strong until they're going to get nerfed. I think they are going to be next on the block for nerfs, but it will really depends on the devs if they want to keep it like strong for 1 week or if they're going to gut it in 3 weeks. We'll have to see. Feral Druid, with the nerfs, how is it going to be good? I think I'm going to put it in great. I want to put it in BIS, but I think the nerfs are quite substantial. And substantial enough to say that it's not going to be like a no-brainer anymore. I think in open world it is great. I think in Soul Shuffle it's going to be great. In Soul QRPGs it's going to be great. 2v2 you can play with a DPS now because you're very much tanky. And 3v3 you're going to have a great time playing jungle, for example. You can even play with like a warrior and it's going to be like quite nice as well. Yeah, Feral Druid, very nice. And you have like two hero tons that are both usable. One is more about regrowth, the other one is like literally you can enrich regeneration in like cat form, which is pretty massive. So I'm going to put it in great for now, obviously. Then we have Balanced Druid. I think with how it plays, I'm going to put it in average. I'm probably going to offend a lot of people, but I don't feel threatened by Balanced Druid these days. I think it's purely about the CC, which I think, why not pick a Feral Druid, which could do the same, kinda. I think Root Beam is strong, but a lot of specs are like countering it pretty easily, and ratios as well. Like Gnome can just like go away from it, and the meta doesn't really suit to Balanced Druid. That's how I see it currently. They might get buffed though. They already got buffed first week. I think the second week will get another buff, or at least another set of buffs. Maybe a revert on Starfire's damage, like being reduced. I think it's going to be reverted very soon. But yeah, I think right now, I think overall in PvP it's going to be quite average. I think in solo queue RPGs is going to be great though, or even BIS. But I have to count every single part of PvP, and balance rate is not going to like be like substantially great. Restoration Druid I think is another great spec. I'm not going to say that it's BIS. It doesn't feel BIS to me. I think Resto Shaman and Preservation Evoker are ahead of them. I think people are going to be debating about it and saying that it's probably not the case. But in my eyes, it is. I think Restoration Druids are lacking also a lot of stats that they used to have in Dragonflight. I think their heroes also are interesting, but they are easier to utilize if you are going into, like, let's say 2v2. But in general, you're going to have a lot of great effects, and the tier set is not bad as well. Like you get like a literal buff to your healing whenever you're pressing Swift Mant, which is quite interesting as well. But this is my prediction for season 1. Again, I might be wrong, but right now with the data we have with how it plays in pre-season, but also with the changes that we had first week, I do reckon that there's going to be a second week of balancing, but that's why I'm going to update the video once season 1 is going to start and I have literal ranked games in my hands. Right now I only judge about my experience about the specs that I'm facing, the war games I did in general with Soul Shovel, but also with solo queue RPGs. You can also do like kind of a war games ish possibility there. So you could say that right now that would be the meta, but obviously the meta is going to swap from now to season 1. So I would say if you're deciding to flavor of the month, you could play Frost Mage. Anyone is playing Frost Mage these days. If you want to like have a safe bet for season 1, I would say just roll Warrior. If you're wanting a caster, I would say just roll Warlock. If you want to roll a healer, I would say the best healers to roll right now is Preservation Evoker, but it might be nerfed. So I would say Disc Priest, so you could always fall back to Holy Priest if it gets buffed. And for, I would say, a Rogue spec, you could always play Rogue, obviously. But if you want to have kind of the same feeling, but not playing Rogue, you could even play Hunter, which has camouflage and which has also the surprise factor in a lot of situations. But you could also play Feral Druid and have also a lot of success with it. Again, depends on the difficulty you are allowing yourself to have to learn a spec, obviously. Again, thank you for watching this video. Really appreciate you and have a great day. Bye.